healthcare unit. When it fails, okay, it sends that. So we said, if we can do it after it failed, we can do it while it is failing also. So we took the data of thousands of pacemakers, collected signals from them. If you are driving your motorbike or car, it doesn't normally fail just on the road like that, right? Initially it starts making some noise and then you ignore it. Then it makes some more noise, you still ignore it. Then it begs you, watch me, I'm dying. Then also ignore, suddenly then it goes and fails. It turns out that pacemaker also does that. It makes enough noise. Only thing is it doesn't make noise, but you have to catch it, right? So we wrote a file, and it's in the heart of the person. So it's not that I have a computer and server where I can write 300 lines of code. It's in the heart, and this is 10 years back when the technology was even primitive. We wrote a 5-line code, deployed it in the hearts of the people who are operated, deployed it, and that collected signals from the pacemaker, temperature, pressure, pulse rate, etc., and sent back to our server. Every minute it sent back the signals to our server, and our server learned features like motorbike, if the current is above this, voltage is below this, pulse rate is between this, there's a likelihood that in the next 5 minutes the pacemaker will fail. It learned those signals from the past data, and the server monitored every operated guy in real time, and this happened 10 years back, by the way. So, and the moment it learned that the guy is likely to, pacemaker is likely to fail, it would call a nearest ambulance. And before the guy realized that he has a heart attack, the ambulance is in front of his house. And the guy is put in the ambulance and taken to the hospital. We saved every life. Every life was saved. Okay, so it's even more, if I have to think about the best application I built, it's even better than Agni, right? But can you believe that after building that I didn't think of Uber? That's exactly, we built an Uber in the heart and missed Uber. I can't believe that, I'm still teaching. So one of the things that happens in AI is if you think of a good idea that you implement, you can actually have your own startup, your own entrepreneurial venture. Essentially, when something is failing, you find and you call an ambulance. When the guy wants, they call a taxi, and that became a $1 billion company, right? So we built the technology for that in a much more difficult way 10 years before that, right? So these are the two projects that I was part of. Hopefully, you now realize that artificial intelligence is a technology that has the power to touch lives in a way that you cannot imagine, or in a way that is only bound by your imagination. Let me be more positive. That's only bound by your imagination. So you can really do cool things. I'll show you a couple of videos. You can really do very cool things. And you don't really need to be a computer scientist to do that. And I was not. He is not. And we do reasonable things in AI, right? You need to learn to program. You need to learn to do mathematics, but you don't have to be a computer scientist to do it. This is a discipline by itself. Okay. Let me show you some.
Thank you so much, Cornelia. So hopefully you get a feel for the richness of these intelligence services that you can use. All text, all inspired me.
I'm Saqib Sheikh. I lost my sight when I was 7, and shortly after that I went to a school for the blind, and that's where I was introduced to talking computers, and that really opened up a whole new world of opportunities. I joined Microsoft 10 years ago as a software engineer. I love making things which improve people's lives, and one of the things I've always dreamt of since I was at university was this idea of something that could tell you at any moment what's going on around you.
I think it's a man jumping in the air doing a trick on a skateboard.
I teamed up with like-minded engineers to make an app which lets you know who and what is around you. It's based on top of the Microsoft Intelligence APIs, which makes it so much easier to make this kind of thing. The app runs on smartphones, but also on the Pivot Head smart glasses. When you're talking to a bigger group, sometimes you can talk and there's no response and you think, is everyone listening really well, or are they half asleep? And you never know.
I see two faces, 40-year-old man with a beard looking surprised, 20-year-old woman looking happy.
The app can describe the general age and gender of the people around me and what their emotions are, which is incredible. One of the things that's most useful about the app is the ability to read out text.
Hello, good afternoon. Here's your menu.
Great, thank you. I can use the app on my phone to take a picture of the menu, and it's going to guide me on how to take that correct photo.
Move camera to the bottom right and away from the document.
And then it'll recognize the text. Read me the headings.
I see appetizers, salads, paninis, pizzas, pastas.
Hi. Years ago, this was science fiction. I never thought it would be something that you could actually do, but artificial intelligence is improving at an ever faster rate, and I'm really excited to see where we can take this. As engineers, we're always standing on the shoulders of giants, building on top of what went before, and in this case, we've taken years of research from Microsoft Research to pull this off.
I think it's a young girl throwing an orange frisbee in the park.
For me, it's about taking that far-off dream and building it one step at a time. I think this is just the beginning.
So this is a Microsoft product. This is a 5-year-old technology, by the way. So by the time some of you come to third or fourth year, you can do something like this as a final year project. Right? So that is the pace at which the technology is developing. I'll just show one more very inspiring thing like this in the next slide, which has, again, in healthcare. The reason why I'm showing examples in healthcare or talking about examples in healthcare is they are really, you understand how you touch the life, but I also talked about missiles, self-driving cars, and things that really make a difference, right? So, let's go to the next slide, please. Yeah, it's working now. Yeah, please.
I never thought of me being part of medical research. After my accident, I always just thought I was going to be stuck at home with no hand. And now I'm part of something big.
This is now making an impact in the real world.
Sensations on it.
This is not science that's going to sit on the shelf or be a gee whiz paper. This is real.
Yeah. So, by the way, just want to tell you, this work, what you see that touch-sensitive arm for people who are amputated is built by our partner university called Case Western Reserve University. This is a university in Cleveland, one of the top engineering schools. INSOFE has a partnership with them. So the students can do 4 years of their bachelor's here and then go on a scholarship to Case Western to do the master's. Right, so any INSOFE graduate can go with a scholarship to the masters, and they're in fact thinking about how to put together an integrated program that will reduce their span even further. Okay, so this is done by in the campus, in the labs of our partner university, Case Western. Yeah.
I took everything for granted. You never really know what you're missing until something happens.
After losing his dominant right hand in an industrial accident 5 years ago, Igor Spedik was able to regain his sense of touch with an experimental prosthetic. The device is being developed by Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland VA Medical Center, with support from the DARPA Haptics program, which aims to bring advanced prosthetics technology into the real world. Support also comes from the Rehabilitation Research and Development Service of the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. For 3.5 years, Dustin Tyler's team has been working with Igor in the lab to perfect the system.
So this has taken a lot of work, for sure, because it's not just the sensors, but it's also connecting those to an external device that can record that information, transform that into the neural code, and then apply that into the stimulation to the leads that are in Igor's arm.
Now, for the first time, Igor is taking the arm with him to use at home.
It was real emotional getting to take my hand back home with me. And now I'm relearning how to use my right hand at home.
This is the first time that sensation's been available to an amputee on a very regular basis. It's one thing to try something in a lab where it's a very controlled environment, but to send him home with this unit, we have to have the confidence that sensation will be there to feel his fingertips.
It's like I'm transitioning from having one hand back to using both hands. It's that sense of touch, that sense of being able to feel something. Knowing I can grab that tomato firm enough, because I can feel it between my fingers, and then confidently cut it with a knife. Because I always said my prosthetic's a tool. It's a sensation on and I feel it, it feels like my hand instead of a tool.
It's estimated that about half of amputees with powered...
See, the difficulty of giving sense of touch to a cut hand, to an artificial hand, you get the sense from your brain. So putting a hand here doesn't give you the sense, right? You have to put a hand and connect it and stimulate your brain so that the hand feels, whenever it touches something, you actually feel the touch. It's tremendous amount of interdisciplinary research that happens with robotics, artificial intelligence, and brain science. So, talking about LinkedIn and many companies like that do surveys, and they say the highest paying job in the next 10 years is that of a artificial intelligence and machine learning engineer. Hopefully you see why, right? This is the reason. These are the kind of projects that you guys will be working on once you learn the foundations of these things. So about the specific program, Venkatesh will talk more about it. Can we go to the last slide, please? Just yeah, we don't do the next video. That's okay. Just no, not that. So I just want to talk about the opportunities post the program. About the program, Venkatesh will talk about. Of course, there are going to be any survey says that there is a huge lack of the right kind of machine learning scientists, AI scientists in the country or anywhere in the globe. So there are going to be enough jobs. But particular to this school that we are doing, we have several university partners. So Case Western Reserve, which you saw, which made that prosthetic arm, is a university in US. After your BTech, every student who wants to do a master's will get a 25% scholarship on the master's fee, and they can go there and do their master's, and they'll complete it in a year. University of Strathclyde, it's a university in UK which invented television, just so that you know the kind of quality that the university has. It invented television, and you can actually do 3 years of education here and go there, and within a year you will get a master's degree from there. So in 4 years you will have both BS and MS degrees, one from India and one from UK, and get work permits there. And this is again a very specific arrangement that they have with INSOFE. University of Arizona, you can right after your BTech, if you want to stay in India, you can do a master's with University of Arizona and get your complete MS in data science from University of Arizona without moving out of India, right? So and then INSOFE itself is, we have, like Atlas, we have a School of Data Science in San Francisco in Golden Gate University. So automatically students can go to Golden Gate University and complete your master's. So there are multiple higher education opportunities and of course hundreds of jobs available post the program. So what I want you to understand, and one question that people keep asking us, why BS and not BTech? Okay, right, it's very simple. We designed this program in the lines of our partners. All of them offer a BS and an MS degree, right? So that's the first reason. And the second one, while in US and Canada, they need a 4-year degree for a grad school. In UK, Europe, and Australia, they're okay with a 3-year graduate degree. So if you have BS and BS honors, it'll be anyway the content is exactly same as BTech or BE. In US, BTech and BS are not different degrees. Anyway, they are the same degree because they themselves call it BS. But those who want to go to UK, Europe, and Australia can go after 3 years with a degree. If you have a BTech after 3 years, you don't get a degree. If you have a BS, you get a degree after 3 years from India, and then you can go to Europe or UK, or you can spend 4 years, get BS honors and go to US. The flexibility is much, much more with that BS honors degree. But whether we call it BS because that's what our university partners in US, everyone call it, we call it BS. But the content is exactly, or in fact, much better than what you learn in any BTech program. The same team that teaches you teaches some of the top corporates in the world like Microsoft, Apple, Google in artificial intelligence. So we teach the corporates, so we know what we are teaching. I believe we are amongst the finest teachers, educators of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And just the pedigree around 80, 30 plus 8, 40 plus 80, 120 faculty now with around 75 plus patents, 3 products, 300 publications, and we're actively doing research. So one of the finest schools of AI and machine learning, definitely in India and in the world. So we believe we can teach you the best, right? If there are any questions, I will take it after my colleague Venkatesh's talk.
So thank you, Dr. Murthy. And so I have 2 pictures. This is 2006 Vatican City. We have, basically they're waiting for a new Pope to be nominated. So what happens is every so many years either the Pope resigns or sometimes the Pope dies. So then what happens is the people are waiting for the new Pope to be decided. So whoever the Pope is, as you can see there are a few cameras, right? Same thing got repeated just 4 years later, 2010. This is the impact of technology. 4 years, why? Smartphones came into picture. Artificial intelligence has been graduated. So what happens? Every time you get a picture, what do you guys do? You share it on WhatsApp, you share it on Facebook. That's how data gets generated. Now, the actual starts working. What do I do with the data? That's where the artificial intelligence and the machine learning comes into picture. I have to use the data to utilize that to predict something or to use it to say, hey, where has it been taken? So for example, you saw that Microsoft ad, right? That says, hey, it's basically a girl throwing a frisbee. Basically, they start working on this actual data and actually start using that in artificial intelligence to basically say what it is. So the impact, 4 years, you can see the change, right? It's just 4 years. In the grand scheme of things, that's nothing. What happened? iPhone was invented actually in 2007. So that's the smartphone generation and the whole thing changed the way we look at it. And that's the impact of technology. That's the impact of artificial intelligence and things. Now, let's talk about, okay. Maybe, the right button, right? Yeah. Okay. Why are you guys here? So let's sort of, basically talk about. Most of you, I don't know. Okay, I have to do it from this side. Okay, perfect. Most of you will have 11 years to 12 years of education, right? Either you're graduating or you're going to graduate next year. The second thing is you might have exposure to applications. What do I mean by that? You must have done some Google, Uber. You've done basically a lot of applications that you've been using it every day. you have an education of probably 11 to 12 years. Now, I'm assuming all of you are passionate about technology, well, be it AI, ML. You guys are really passionate about understanding how technology works. Now, you are looking for to basically take that passion and convert it into a formal education. Basically, you're looking for a degree or a university that's the best in its business. And I'll talk about why this collaboration between Atlas and INSOFE is the best in the business. Next, basically you want a program, and this is something very unique about this BSc Honors program is, we definitely do probably one of the world's class best in terms of AI and ML, but there's a lot more to this program just than that. We call it a 360-degree education because we will also give you an opportunity, because this University Atlas has other schools, to basically get knowledge from other schools. So basically it's a 360 education in AI and ML, and I'll tell you why is this important. I'll give you an example of that. For example, let's say we take, we talked about a driving, basically an autonomous car. Today, let's say an autonomous car gets into an accident. It's a very question that people think, who is responsible? What is an autonomous car? Autonomous car is a car that basically self-drives. If you own the car, you say, go talk to the Google guy who created it. The Google guy will say, I didn't own it, I sold it to you. It's not my responsibility. Now, so this is a legal question that every government is battling. What happens when an autonomous car gets into an accident? Another question which basically, let me tell you, let's say you're driving, an autonomous car is coming. Today, let's say you're driving a car. Suddenly you see a kid in the middle. What happens? You stop. You apply brakes, or you try to avoid it and maybe you may hit a tree. But a decision done by a human. Imagine the same thing by an autonomous car. An autonomous car is driving, suddenly a kid comes in the middle. Will it protect the passenger in the car, or will it protect the kid in front of the car? These are the questions that sometimes AI and ML may not answer. The 360 education is basically, in addition to that, you need to understand law, you need to understand finance, or you need to understand design. Because AI, ML is just a technology. How do I design the best iPhone? Design comes into picture. So you really need to understand how does design work. In fact, if you know about it in Apple, when Steve Jobs was there, the second highest paid employee of Apple was the guy who used to lead the design, Mr. Ives, or now he's knighted, Sir Ives. Don't Google it now, but Google it later. But he was the second highest paid guy, and he ran the entire design piece. Why? Because that is as important, and that's what the 360 education gives you, is that whole holistic way of looking at technology. And obviously, there is the aspiration for you guys that have come here. What do I do after my bachelor's? Some of you may say, I want to do my master's or your PhD. You have to do a master's or a PhD. Or you may be interested in a fantastic job. Or you may be interested to do a startup. For all of this, let's say we have programs for the masters. We have opportunities, and there's a lot of opportunities for AI and ML. And definitely, there are also opportunities in terms of, by doing this education, you have an idea of how to do the startups and everything. So this is what is basically a 360 view of looking at why this program is good. Now, basically, it's a collaboration between INSOFE and Atlas University. The AI and ML piece is completely taught by INSOFE. We teach the AI and ML piece. The life skills, and there is a minor, as I told you, right? You can do a minor in design, you can do a minor in business. All that part is being taught by the best in the business, which is Atlas University. And the third part of it is the internship opportunities. There are huge. There is an internship built into the program, which is very important, because that's where you apply the rubber to the road, or whatever you say, right? The rubber meets the road. So there's a huge internship opportunities also built in. And this is something that makes you basically learn what you have done. So you have INSOFE teaching you the best in AI and ML, and I will go through what we teach and everything in a few slides. Atlas teaching you the life skills, which is, and the other minors. Basically, you can do a minor in design, you can do a minor in entrepreneurship, you can do a minor in multiple courses. So that way you can not just learn AI and ML, but actually learn it at a, which is very useful. And then obviously there's the internship. I'm doing something wrong. Sorry. Okay. What is INSOFE? INSOFE stands for International School of Engineering. We have about nearly 40 full-time professors we will have, 7 adjunct faculties, 50 full-time data scientists. All of them have their PhDs from, and you can take a look at it, I'm not going to it, world-class university. Myself personally, as I told, I got my PhD from University of Colorado. Dr. Murthy got it from Carnegie Mellon, and similarly, and so forth and so on. Okay. One of the things that I'm really proud of, most of our senior faculty is, they have about 20 years of experience in world-class university. Myself, this is my first teaching opportunity. Until now, 20 years I've been in the industry, then came into teaching. What will that get me is that perspective, when I teach you, is not theory, but very important is how do I apply that. Next, we have 1,000 plus publications, 3,000 plus research papers, 4,000 plus conference talks. We have 4 products, 75 plus this, and we have a startup within INSOFE, which we have basically called CoinEarth, which is blockchain technology. And there is one more professor who's looking into a second startup basically to do it. So in fact, we are not just a teaching organization, but we do a lot more than teaching, which is, I'll talk about it a little bit more. We do a lot of corporate training. We do a lot of consulting. I personally am working on multiple projects. For example, working on one company in Saudi Arabia, Schindler. I'm sure you have taken the elevators. I'm assuming it's a Schindler elevator that you guys have mentioned, or the escalators must have seen it. Similarly, multiple projects I'm involved in terms of this one. Why is that important? It's something that we can also talk about. Okay, so let's go through one slide about the coursework or what is the thing. It's a 4-year program, basically 8 semesters. Now, how are the courses divided or the whole thing divided? We have 160 credits, out of which data science and math is basically 100 credits, life skills is 16 credits, project is 6 credits, internships is 6 credits, and then you have an electives which you can do either a minor, which is 32 credits. At a high level, this is how the credit system works. So basically, this is a 160, credit program, 4 years, which means say 40 credits per year, which is 20 credits per semester. So 20 plus 20 is 40 credits per year times 4, obviously this. But that's not the interesting part. Like, what do we do in this 160 credits is the interesting part. What do you learn? First thing is, what we make sure is, we make sure that we know that each student comes with a different sort of capability. Some are good in math, some are good in programming, some may be okay in both. The first year, what we make sure is, we start from the very beginning from a programming perspective. I'm assuming some of you must have done some programming, Python programming or R programming or C programming or Java programming. But some of them might have said, I have not done it. So we don't assume that you know programming. We start from the very beginning. Why? Because we want to make sure we bring everybody to the same platform. So the first year, basically, we start with basic programming languages. There are 2 programming languages that are mostly used in data science. One is called Python, the other one is called R. Basic math, because math is the fundamental for all of this data science. So we basically do that. Then we start basically building it up with starting the basis of AI and ML, or basics of foundations of data science, which is what? Statistics. Statistics, basic statistics we start with, and we go into and start with the basic statistics. Next, we basically start machine learning and learning skills. Basically, we go into machine learning. What is machine learning? We go into things like, how do I do prediction with linear regression? I don't want to just use terminologies and scare you, but basically things that are logistic regression and things like that. And then we go into deep learning, which is the computer vision, the text, all that we go into. Then we basically go into something called a data visualization. Why is that important? Very, very important, because end of the day, not everybody in the world is a data scientist. whatever you do, you need to project it to the business, or if you're working for a company, to say, what do you mean? We got an output. What does that output mean for me as a data person? What does that mean? Can I launch a project or not launch a project? Will my sales be good or not in the next year? That is why we use the data visualization skills to basically teach you how do you represent the output or the data that you have got in a terms that is very useful and meaningful. That is where the junction of business and technology comes into picture. And finally, you have a project, as you can basically, we give you some real life projects. One of the biggest things that we do in this program, which I'm very proud of, and I feel we are probably one of, I think, unique in the whole, in the country, is 50% of the time you do hands-on, 50% of the time you do theory. That means to say, if it's a 4-hour class, 2 hours is theory, 2 hours is hands-on. Which means to say, whatever you learn, you actually apply. And that is the only way to learn data science. Not listening to theory, you will learn data science. The only way to learn data science. Now there are 2 aspects to it. The first aspect of that is, because of our lot of corporate training experience, and also because of our consulting experience, my corporate training tells me what is the industry wants, what are the changes happening in the industry, which I can bring it into my syllabus, or which I can bring it into my academia, which is very important because I know what the industry wants. My corporate, consulting tells me real life problems which we bring back into our lab. So whenever students are working, I may not tell you the name of the company, or I may slightly modify the data because of certain, agreements and everything I have. But you will be working on the same problem the industry is facing today. So when you work on this problem, it is not a problem that, a toy problem I got because it is nice, looks like, but it's a real problem that you're working in an industry which the industry wants it. Maybe it's healthcare, maybe it's finance, maybe whatever that field is. And that is a very powerful thing for you to work. So by the time you graduate, what the term is, you're battle hardened. Which means to say you are really, really ready for corporate. One of the biggest complaints the corporates have today is, if I hire a person, I have to spend 2 more years to basically train him or her to bring him up to the corporate standards, because what they teach is theory in the school. They're not battle hardened. One of the things of this program, which really is basically the amount of lab and you would have done. You would have really made yourself so good in terms of understanding and actually applications or applying that thing, that you will, from day one, you may be very productive to the company, and that's a huge benefit to the company, because they don't have to spend another 8 months or a year training you, which is a cost to the company. So basically what happens at the end of the program, I came up with this, whether it's right or wrong, I'm calling it talent. What does that mean? TA, you will have the best technical abilities in terms of machine learning, in terms of that. LE, you will have the best life experience, life skills that you will learn. Basically, what is the life skills? Basically, in addition to AI and ML, you will also come up with, you will learn outside that. You are forced to take courses in design. You are mandatory to take courses in other courses, so that you really get the 360 education. Networking or NT is, if you want to either go to a higher studies, or if you want to do a master's program or a job, you get the best networking or the best sort of contacts, because you have the best education both in terms of technical and non-technical. So that is what I'm calling it talent, right or wrong. I just came up with last night, so I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but I came up with talent. And I think that is my last slide. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Murthy and Dr. Sunkar. I know we're going to get 2 types of questions. We'll open for a bit of question answer. So one is particularly on the course, which we will come to. But I think there are a young group of students as well who would have some question and answers on the basics around computer science, AI, ML, possible opportunities for you as well. So maybe we can start with those questions. Any questions? Do you want to put your hands up? Are there any specific questions that we have? Yes, I can see a hand over there. And then of course we're going to spend some more time together. But we have please stand up and do introduce yourself, and which school or college are you from?
Hi, I'm Lavanya. I'm from Samaya School. I actually have a question since you're in high school right now. Are there any programs for high school students as well?
See, as Dr. Venkatesh was saying, the real application of AI is when you understand the industry, you understand the context, then the technology makes most sense. I think there are enough Python programming or programming kind of programs. Even we plan to launch it in Mumbai, but we deliberately keep learning artificial intelligence or any technology in the context of a business or life skill, which we believe happens at undergraduate and graduate level. So some technical courses we do have and we'll be launching.
But still, parents and students both welcome. It's a joint journey. So
I just like to ask you, because when you go through the syllabus of most of the colleges, they talk about artificial intelligence, machine learning, then data science and business analytics, and a lot of subdivisions are given. So basically I want to understand what is the difference between these things.
It's a very good question. Actually many schools, engineering schools have two departments called computer science and information technology. What is the difference? Anyone has an idea?
I'm a commerce student, but what I have gathered is that IT is more to do with hardware and computer science is more to do with software. That is what people tell us.
But in reality, where I asked several principals and checked the syllabus, and in 8th semester, 2 electives are different. That's it. And 8th semester, no one goes to college. So many students don't know the difference between computer science and IT. So what happened is, this field of artificial intelligence developed over a span of 250 years. 250 years back, people called it statistics, where they consolidated the data and got summaries, etc. Around 150 years back, they said, hey, with data I can not only consolidate, but I can do everything that a human brain can do. So they had to change the name from statistics, they called it artificial intelligence. More tools, more techniques to do everything that a brain does. Around 40 years back, people said, hey, I think doing everything that a brain does is probably a stretch, because brain does many things impulsively, emotionally. We don't even know how it does. So let's focus on only the logical things that the brain does. So they had to restrict the scope, and they said, because we are restricting the scope, let's call it machine learning. Beginning of this century, the capability to collect data had gone up from, until 1990, 50,000 records in a database is large. In 2000, with Google and Yahoo, billion records, billion customers, billion emails have become a possibility. So machine learning on very, very large data, what do I call it? They said call it data science, okay, or big data analytics. In the past 5 years, some problems that machine learning could not solve. For example, recognizing a face and saying, hey, you are you. It happens to humans very easily. But machines, it never could do that. But now, even simple mobile phones can recognize your face. That entire technology developed in the past 5 years. So machine learning that works like a human on images and text, they called it deep learning. So over 250 years of duration, different groups worked on different motivations and gave it a different name, and it became a buzzword. But today, if you look at here, when I say artificial intelligence and machine learning, you learn everything that is relevant in statistics, AI, machine learning, data science, and deep learning. But you have to call with one name. You can't just say my bachelor's is in all these things. So we pick a name. So the point here is, names are evolved over time, and it became a good marketing ploy. People can have many, many degrees in education. But what this field is, as Dr. Venkatesh said, from data, do very intelligent things. Okay, whether you call it statistical modeling or artificial intelligence is less critical there. But understanding that from large volumes of data, we create brain-like logical solutions. Right. Hopefully I answered the question. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, okay.
See, in this, the whole process, is the computer knowledge is very important or mathematics takes an upper hand?
Very good question. Both. See, computers strengthened AI because today when you're working on any problem, you're taking what, 500 million records. Humans cannot, obviously you can't put it on paper and pen. So you do need a computer to handle that kind of computation. On the other hand, AI, math strengthens the computer because computer otherwise is a calculator that can do many things. Here you are making it do things like a human. So the beauty of AI is where computer programming and mathematics work together to create smart machines that can process data that a human cannot, but think like a human. So really beautiful applications can be built. Right? So both are important. So I think, as he said, a student has to learn enough computer programming and enough mathematics to call herself or himself a good data scientist or AI scientist. Very good questions. Very good questions. Venkatesh, I'm monopolizing.
No. Go ahead. Maybe the next one.
I think there's someone in
Yes.
Yeah.
To introduce me. I'm Shreya from Somaya School. My question is that as a commerce student who's currently studying commerce, all the science background here may not be very into it, but I think that there's also a lot of social impacts that AI has. And like you mentioned, the biological ones with the pacemaker, etc. But as we know, there are a lot of AI data, like places where they collect a lot of data that not everyone wants, or not everyone wants, it gives consent to their data being collected. So there are a lot of AI scientists who might misuse this data for many wrong things. So as an AI scientist yourself, what do you think are the solutions to that? Because in the long term, it's not going to be good for everyone's privacy if data is continuously collected.
Right, yeah. The same dilemma in 1905, a man with golden hair had, right, or didn't have. And he said E is equal to mc square, and rest of the world went and built an atom bomb and killed million people. So can technology be misused? We are doing it on a daily basis. We misuse technology, right?
Yes.
There's no question about it. 90% of us use mobile phones for things that are absolutely unproductive. Obviously, right? So how do we become more responsible is the question. Technology and science keep growing. Now you as an individual has to be trained either to use it positively or negatively. What Dr. Venkatesh has been insisting on, I will teach you life skills, I will teach you philosophy, I will teach you economics, I will teach you commerce, in addition to doing AI, is an attempt to make you a 360-degree holistic, responsible developer, builder of AI applications. The only way to balance that, at least to some extent, is to create that learning environment where students are not just taught technology, but also taught, and that's why I said when one person asked, can we study it in high school or, I had at INSOFE, the youngest student was a 4th grader. The guy is, he coded like better than anyone else. But my problem was, am I giving an atom bomb to a kid? Right? So will he misuse it? So after carefully thinking, we said we will not promote him into the program. Because it is an important thing. This is such a powerful technology. Having that balance of mind is very important, and that's what we are striving to do with that balance.
Thank you so much.
One more point I'll add, and this brings up a very good, from an opportunity perspective. Governments all over the world are looking for youngsters like you to have a knowledge of both, computer, AI and the law, or AI and tech. So that, because even they are struggling with the same thing, right? What happens if, should I let a drone fly over my house or not? Nobody knows the answers to these questions, right? So it's a huge opportunity for you to basically develop these, policies. So a lot of these jobs are available where if you have this, people are looking for people who have both the knowledge of technology plus law or technology plus, because even governments, it's not like, laws are made by gods, right? Laws are made by humans.
Yeah, my teacher, from whom I learned AI, is a bachelor of philosophy guy. Right? So, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, there's one. You can use yours.
Yeah,
that will be probably easy.
My voice is good enough.
No, you can take after that, yeah.
My question was how is, like, what are the fields which AI ML gives me exposure to as an individual, and how me learning AI ML throughout the course gives me an individual opportunity to know what field I want to pursue.
Right. So the question is, what fields do you think a more known field? No, you can sit down. Computer science, what do you think it will give exposure to?
The IT sector.
No, but IT sector is actually serving other sectors, right? Can you think of a field where there is no computer science, computer now? Can you think of any field? Difficult. Any field, yeah. Same, artificial intelligence is having a smarter computer that can think, that not only does what you ask it to do, but that it can think and do certain things better than you. So can you think, the question is not which field, the question is, can we think of any field where AI cannot be used? My sister-in-law used to run a food distribution entity. She would feed 50 people every day in a rural area in Andhra Pradesh. 50 people, 50 rupees, 2,500 rupees per day is the budget. 365 days, so roughly 7 lakh rupee turnover. Very small in terms of companies. She used AI to figure out which days people are eating wheat more, which days people are eating rice more, what days which vegetable if I buy I get the least price, to reduce her cost by 20%. So, smartly thinking computing, I can't think of a discipline where it cannot be used, right? It's like electricity. So people call it the electricity of 21st century. Wherever electricity, in 1905, someone asked, which industry's electricity will be used?
Possibly so. So my name is Dhruv Saran from Samaya, and my question is that what are the real world problems that AI can possibly solve right now?
I showed you blind people can see. More, even more. Which industry? You tell me, what industry do you want to know?
Whatever is your favorite industry.
Whatever, I showed you 3 of them. I want to know your favorite and I'll tell you there.
So, design,
okay.
architecture,
Design, let's say.
Yeah.
So, General Electric uses for car designs AI. Previously, to get one car design correctly, it used to take around 3 years. They brought it down to 1.5 years with the help of artificial intelligence, because it can now test hundreds of designs, simulate failures, understand which designs are working, which designs are not working, and reduce the amount of experimentation that human needs to do by 50%. See, think about it this way. A smartly thinking computer, where can I use? Anywhere. Where can you not use is a bigger question. In fact, my challenge to you guys is, tell me one area where I can't use it. I can tell you, actually. I have 2 questions for which I couldn't find.
Entertainment industry.
Oh, no. Entertainment, we can make an entire movie artificially. Music is generated artificially. Complete music. No human involved. No, I couldn't use, at least I don't know how to use AI to figure out whether there is God or not. Really, because there's no logic there. You can sit down. Right? I couldn't find out. Such deeply philosophical questions are probably where even human brain doesn't work. AI also doesn't work. But seriously, I'm challenging you. Find one area in business or life or industry where you cannot use AI. I can't find any. There is a complete digital model. Acting, I'm telling you, madam, there is a complete digital model. People nowadays have systems where you don't have to hire a model. There is a model that is artificially created, she acts, you won't even know that it is artificial.
So what about numerology?
What about?
Numerology.
Numerology. Oh, what? That is easy. I mean, whatever a human can tell, you can tell better. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. But numerology is based on numbers, right? That is easy.
But like how is a machine supposed to know what?
Whatever they are, the numerologists have a rule book, right? So I can just quote that. The machine will then remember that. Astrology, numerology. I'm not saying whether that is right or wrong. I'm saying how humans practice, machines can also practice. Nowadays, actually, 90% of good astrologers only use software. I'm not saying whether right or wrong because I am not qualified, but they use computers, yes.
Fashion and clothing?
Yeah, tell me, did you see Myntra? The web app? You go there, you pick a shirt, it shows you how it looks on you. Moda Rapido, have you heard of? Just check Google Moda Rapido, M-O-D-A-R-A-P-I-D-O in Myntra. Completely machine generated designs. No human was involved in designing. Completely machine generated designs, AI generated. India's first AI generated fashion brand is Moda Rapido.
So I have a question. This sort of connected to first of all, I mean, congratulations. I really found the session very passionate, and that's something excellent. Thanks a lot for that. What I wanted to know is that, I'm a bit conservative in the sense that I always thought that, or actually there's also news in the public domain which says that this data science, machine learning actually will stay for say this for 10 years or 15 years, and after that you will need to go back to the core. So, which is in the sense that if you're a core chemistry person or a core metallurgist, this is a metallurgist, or a core electrical engineer, then it helps you to learn computers, and vice versa may not be a solid educational qualification. What is your views on that?
Okay. So there is one nice, one of the top universities in the world in German, Berlin University, they said, their civil engineering department, we work with them, they said we will practice civil engineering using AI and machine learning only from now onwards. They completely removed the traditional way of doing civil engineering. Civil engineering, chemistry, mechanical engineering will stay. But the way they are practiced will be very different thanks to AI.
Yes, so AI or an ML person or a data scientist, is it necessary for him or her to do a backward integration in a core subject afterwards?
No, not needed. Not needed, actually. You want to upload it? No. No. So, because this field itself is developing so fast, so much, you require specialists in this field, you require specialists in chemistry, they work together. It will be impossible for anyone to become really, really good at both fields. Unless, I personally am a metallurgist, then I spent 20 years studying AI. Not because I'm a metallurgist, it didn't have any difference whether this or that. So, because my interest was in this, I had to just redo it. But I know people who only studied AI, who are very successful in building applications in the other domains, working with a specialist in that domain.